Today on the Trail 90 Resurrection, we do mock-up. Alright guys, what I'm doing is I'm going to mock up the bike today to see how the custom stuff works, but I've taken it all apart. I know first thing you're going to ask is, why would I take it all apart if I'm just going to put it back together to mock it up? When I took it apart, it was originally just to redo the paint and not really change anything. Now that I'm changing stuff, I'm going to partially reassemble it to do the new frame tubing and get all that in place. What I'm actually doing is strapping the motor down onto this workbench, and then I can mount the frame on it and sort of work out from there. It just gives me a nice solid work surface. So by putting the foot pegs on, it locks the motor in. Now this thing won't go flippy over on the bench on me. No brakes, no fancy stuff, just basic nuts and bolts. And obviously I've got no tires on here. This is sort of the original what the Trail 90 came designed as, and some people love it, some people hate it. It's an icon in some places, and it's not in others. This should be up a little higher. That should be about there. I did mention these forks. They're not bent. They're definitely not bent. They definitely have movement, and in fact, a little side note is, I opened them up and I drained just to see if there was fluid in there, to see if there was movement. There's definitely fluid. There's definitely like an opposing dampening fluid effect. I maybe drained out an ounce or two, and things moved much more considerably easy. Were they overfilled? I don't know if that would create something, but they move great. They're in great shape. I don't even think they need seals. That's just a little side note that I don't know. I'm probably going to, I'll probably drain and refill the fluid, see what the factory is, and then once I get the whole thing back together and have it on the ground and mess around with it, then I'll see if there's any sort of point in putting more or less fluid in there. But yeah, so that's a small little update on the forks. I'm definitely going to do different aftermarket mounts. I've ordered a single headlight, the same size headlight, just in the bucket with the that a lot of the cafe guys do, and it's an LED headlight with the turn signals built in. I may want to keep this setup. I love the look of the Speedo. I love the look of it. I love how clean it is. I love that it shows the original mileage. That it just might be a really cool thing if I can raise the whole thing up a little bit so that it sort of meets the handlebar level, because right now it's quite a bit below it. This is basically, well, with tires, this is kind of the mock-up of what the original TRAIL90 had. There was an air filter here, tucked into there. So what used to happen is that air filter, and then there was a piece that came off. So the air actually got fed from above and came down through and into the carb, which is just underneath here. Because I'm not using this cover, I won't be using the side. I'll just put on the easy pod filters. So there you are. This seat, as I mentioned before, I had actually ordered a cover for and threw it on. The original rip kind of, I forget which side it was this side or the other side, and there was a lot of foam missing underneath that had to be built up. The rack, you know, if I was a little smaller or whatever, you know, and needed a nice rack with a milk crate or something to commute, that'd be great. But in this case, it's not going to happen. That's all the damage that got done when it got dropped. I could spend a lot of time getting it straight or cover it with the original light, but that's not what I want to do. I want to do some custom stuff on it. Come around to this side. That's the exhaust. There is a chrome plate which covers a couple different parts, but what I'm probably going to do is going to be coming out off the motor and going much lower. This is the battery cover. And the electronics go in there. So it's nice, everything can stay kind of hidden. So, first thing that's gonna go is the seat. So that's our starting point. First thing I'm going to have to deal with is the rear section. Everything here is all beat up, and if you look at it from the back, it twists from side to side, it's flared out, it's flared in. It's not pretty anymore. Honda nicely left us this line where the two meet. Now these are welded together, but it's a great place to buzz that off. So I think I'm going to start there. Oh, that looks awesome. Okay. Great, nice line off the end. I love that curve. A little bit more cleaning up to do, but that's really cool. Handlebars. I had these already. What I did is I wanted to keep it as clean as possible using the original Honda controls. So I matched all the holes, including the bottom one, on the original handlebars, and so my wires will all come out clean and neat and have nothing on the end. What I've already done, I was playing with this before. This is actually a piece of galvanized pipe, so I wouldn't want to weld this anyway. But this is 1 1/4 EMT. So all I've done is I've done a rough cut on this end and a rough cut on this end, and I've notched out, as you can see there, I've notched out the top and the bottom to sort of match the little crease that goes all the way up the middle of this back. So if I slip that on there and then just sit that, it sits on this part here. So if you look at the bigger picture, that's sort of the line that I think I want to take. These aren't perfect angles or anything, but it gets me in a spot where I can move on with it. So next, tank. This is an unfinished replica of a Sportster tank from the late 70s. It's the 2.4 liter. It's the classic peanut shape. And the reason I'm going with the 1.5, well, the 1 1/4 EMT, which is 1.5 diameter pipe, is because the back little round part is 1.5 inner diameter. So if you slip that on there, you start to see what my plan is. And my hope is to get this line straight. So even if I have to like raise the tank on the front, whoops, I've got lots of room here where I can adjust those mounting points. But right now, we'll sit it just about there. Next, if I can find it, I picked up one of these guys, one of these cheap Chinese eBay bobber seat with the springy things. The original seat, as you remember, there was a tank and the seat set up here, so you were very much over the foot pegs. And for me, for my size, I'm just about 6 feet, it's a little crampy. So my hope was to move the seat from here back a little bit so I could relax into the bike a bit. So it's going to be, that's a little too far back, but it's going to be something like that. Yeah, I feel like this seat's already sitting up too high. It needs to sit back, so I think I might have to get rid of the springs and do like a flat mount. So that's kind of the sort of negative space I'm looking for in there. Now, I think it also, we're also a little off. We're not seeing the bike sit the way it's supposed to sit. If I look at it now, I actually think it's supposed to be a little bit more back like that. And if the tank just comes up a little bit more like that, right? It starts to make that line that I'm looking for, that straight back line. So that's kind of it right there. I think it's a direction worth going in. Other thing I have to cut is the front fender, and basically I'm going to get rid of these supports and then do a measure to basically cut it from here to here. Just leave the center mount on it and just give it a little bit more of that look. I've got the rest of the front fender cut. I think it looks great. I think I'm going to leave it there for the day. If you like what you're seeing, hit subscribe, and we will see you next time. Cheers.